Indiana.
Oh, they killed Indiana.
They did kill Indiana. It was not a pretty
New
game.
Year, welcome to
never
the new
thought
year.
they'd
At this
kill
time,
Indiana.
No.
call the meeting
It
together,
was a very quiet night in my house.
7:04 p.m. Please call the roll.
You're a Bear fan also?
Michelle Sarwas,
Unfortunately.
John Batterman,
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes.
George Koziel, Bob Vaccaro,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Julie Kapatakakis,
Yes.
Amy McSwain,
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Here. You have in front of you the minutes from the October 3rd meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Amy. Was it, or Julie?
Amy.
Amy? Okay, any comments? Please call the roll.
We actually have an amendment to the minutes. We need to add the exhibits A, B, and C for the two cases, 2414 for Westgate and 2416 for Bartlett Automotive. Just the following exhibits, A, B, and C. We just need to add those. So those will be added for the final minutes.
Okay, so we need
Want to
a,
go ahead and vote
all right.
with those amendments?
Yes, we need a motion to amend the minutes.
So moved.
So moved by Amy,
Second.
seconded by John. Any discussion? John Batterman. Please call the roll.
John Batterman,
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe,
Abstain.
Bob Vaccaro,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Julie Kapatakakis,
Yes.
Amy McSwain,
Yes.
Michelle Sarwas,
Abstain.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Okay, the only item on the agenda tonight is case number 2417, Cheer Athletics Chicago. Are the petitioners present? Are you going to be speaking? Please come up to the microphone. And let it be shown that George is here as of 7:07. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give tonight is only the full truth? Okay, do we have the picture of the sign, the mailings, and the newspaper? Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Go ahead and present your case.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Rath. I am the owner of Honor Elite All-Stars LLC, doing business as Cheer Athletics Chicago. I reside at 36 West 429 Lancaster in St. Charles, Illinois. I have two requests this evening, one for a special use permit for the location of 810 East Devon Road in Bartlett, and then I'm also seeking a parking variance for the same property. For ease of understanding, I will first review where the property in question is located, provide a brief overview of the company itself, and then walk through findings of fact concerning both the special use permit and the parking variance. The building is located in the northeast section of Bartlett, to the east of Prospect Avenue. It's on the north side of Devon Road, addressed again at 810 East Devon Road. It is a part of a multi-tenant building owned by Pulakafalos Enterprises in the Light Industrial District. There are a total of 4 units individually addressed to that building, with 3 of the 4 spaces currently leased and occupied by other tenants. The 810 address is the only address currently vacant and unoccupied. My company, Cheer Athletics Chicago, has a fully executed lease with Pulakafalos Enterprises for the 810 address, pending approval from the Village of Bartlett for these 2 requests today, and will make this property fully occupied. On the next slide, a little bit of background on Cheer Athletics. It was founded in 1996. Cheer Athletics has established itself as a leading name in the cheerleading community, known for its high-level training and successful teams. With a focus on developing athletes both athletically and personally, Cheer Athletics has produced numerous champions and fostered a supportive culture of athlete growth and community. With an impressive global presence spanning 19 locations worldwide, including the flagship location in Plano, Texas, Cheer Athletics has solidified itself as a dominant force in the all-star cheer industry. For almost 3 decades, the organization has garnered numerous regional, national, and world championship titles, surpassing any other program in the country. This location will be the first cheer athletics location in the state of Illinois. As we move on to the special use permit request, I thought it would be helpful to provide a little bit of an overview of how the use space would be leveraged and break down how the 20,000 square foot space would be divided. When you walk through the front door, it's kind of difficult to see up on the screen, but when you walk through the front doors it ends up being the east side of the building, you enter that orangish area and the bottom right side of that picture. That's about 2,000 square feet. It has 2 offices, a conference room for employee training, and an open showroom for pro shop merchandise like cheerleading shoes and cheer bows. The roughly 1,300 square feet loading dock will be used to bring cheerleading equipment into the facility and will basically go unused once the move-in is complete. There is roughly 17,000 square feet of actual warehouse space. The blue spaces, there's 3 of them up there, indicate the 3 cheerleading floors within the warehouse, with the pink and light green areas as ancillary cheer mats and apparatus for stunting and tumbling classes. The gray areas that are difficult to see up there, but they're there, I promise. They just indicate the walkways throughout the space within the warehouse. There is currently a walled-off storage room of about 910 square feet in the warehouse where tumbling equipment will be stored when not being used. To address the findings of fact for the special use permit, cheerleading is an over $2 billion industry, with the nearest market competition located in Naperville, Illinois to the south and Prospect Heights to the north. The location is ideally located to address the market in the middle, amidst residential communities and nearby thoroughfares. Athletic programs for children and children at heart, because it's an all ages program, with varying skills and abilities are vital for physical, mental, and emotional development. Regular engagement in fitness and recreation contributes to athletes' overall health and well-being. It teaches the importance of collaboration and working towards a common goal. They learn to communicate effectively, trust their teammates, and support one another. They learn to communicate effectively, trust their teammates, and support and learn a sense of responsibility. Through setting and achieving goals, overcoming challenges, and experiencing success, athletes build self-esteem and confidence. They learn to manage their time effectively, they learn resilience, and the importance of perseverance in the face of challenges. Classes are held in the evenings and weekends to accommodate student schedules. Classes also occur through staggered start and end times for the safety of students entering and exiting the facility, which will reduce congestion with the parking area and nearby community. Only enrolled students may participate in activities within the instructional facility itself. Parents drop off their students at the start of their class and pick up their student at the end of class. The special use complies with all regulations and conditions as outlined in the Light Industrial District guidelines. Cheer Athletics Chicago does not participate in any of the outlined prohibited uses as designated in Ordinance 10.7A-6. Additionally, the building complies with the site and structure provisions within 10-7A-7 and commits to comply with the performance standards included in 10-7A-8, although there is nothing in that ordinance that would apply to cheer athletics currently. At this moment, I would like to perhaps maybe pause and see if there are any questions related to the special use permit. Okay. Moving forward, let's discuss the parking variance. To level set on existing parking code, the proposed operation is appropriately classified as a fitness recreation facility under the village's municipal code. The village's parking requirements are generally based upon use and square footage, and under that code, a fitness facility is required to provide 1 parking space for every 250 square feet. Currently, the overall building has an approved variance for 147 parking spots. Here, for the proposed 17,795 square feet of operation, fitness operation, code requires Cheer Athletics Chicago to provide 71 parking spaces for its own proposed use, for a total of 186 for the entire property, a delta of 39, which is what they're currently approved for. Cheer Athletics Chicago contends that the standard parking requirements outlined in the Village Code do not accurately reflect the actual parking demand for its use. The parking code hardship stems from the inherent mismatch between the standard parking requirements and the unique operational characteristics of a cheerleading gym. The facility operates on a structured class schedule, allowing Cheer Athletics Chicago to manage the number of participants present at any given time. This is in contrast to an open access public gym with less predictable usage patterns. The facility is not open to the general public. You must be an enrolled athlete, allowing the gym to further control attendance and parking needs. Cheerleading gyms also have most participants being dropped off and picked up rather than parking long-term. Standard parking requirements often fail to account for those specialized needs. Cheer Athletics Chicago has referenced a comparable parking study from a similar competitive cheerleading gym located in Naperville, Illinois. This study showed that the competitive cheerleading facility in Naperville has a total number of parking spaces of 160 for a total property size of 111,864 square feet with similar tenant demands as is the building that we're talking about tonight. That cheerleading gym space is 40,000 square feet, and that study proved to have no issues with parking requirements as the peak demand was a total of 20 parking spaces, with an average need of 14 throughout the duration of their hours of operation. And that peak period lasted less than 15 minutes. Leveraging that data analysis, and with our own experience in the industry, the absolute peak demand estimate would include 35 parking spaces, 8 for employees throughout a shift, and 27 for athletes. And those 8 would be dedicated, they could be shared. Combining the 27 and the 8, that's less than half the code requirement. Regular operations estimate that only 19 parking spaces would ever be needed on a regular day-to-day basis. In addition, the busiest periods are expected to occur as the existing tenants in that space are winding down, allowing for efficient use of the available parking that's there. So the 3 existing tenants' operating hours occur during the daytime, while Cheer Athletics Chicago operates on nights and weekends. Each of the existing tenants' hours of operation are structured that virtually no overlap would occur between existing tenants and Cheer Athletics Chicago. As such, those existing parking spaces being utilized by those existing tenants during the daytime hours would become available for Cheer Athletics Chicago in the evening. Without the parking variance, we're actually considering the project not viable at all. We would need the parking variance in order to proceed with the project. It would, in theory, or could, in theory, pose further vacancy for the position or that portion of the building, as well as prevent Cheer Athletics Chicago from offering this as an opportunity to the community. There would be no alterations or anything that would hinder the existing character of the neighborhood. There would not be any detriment to the existing tenants. And 117 of the local residents within 250 feet have been notified of this public hearing as well. In partnership with the owner of the building, we've outlined a parking drop-off procedure as highlighted here. Those athletes that participate in cheerleading gyms are very used to receiving this when they enroll within a gym. They always receive their procedures on what parking looks like to provide safety to each of the athletes that are enrolled. This was done in partnership with the owner of the facility. All of those cones and signage would be placed daily and then removed at the end of the day. So let me pause and turn it over to Brian.
I just have a few more things to highlight. I think Melissa covered most of it, but I wanted to go through a few more pieces of information. Starting with the location, this is on East Devon. To the east of the property is an additional I-1 parcel with the self-storage. To the south is single-family residential, to the west is multifamily residential, and then to the north is the metro tracks, and then more industrial zoning in Streamwood. This use would occupy Unit 2 of 4. The other 3 units, as was mentioned, are all light industrial uses with a cabinet maker, pallet supplier, and a freight forwarding company. Their parking requirements in total are, 115 parking spaces cumulatively. There are currently 147 in the parking lot. This would add an additional 71 without parking variation. And so that total, adding all 4 units up together as is, would be 186 spaces. So this use would require a parking variation to decrease the total by 39 spaces. As a way of mitigating those parking spaces, as was mentioned previously, this business would operate outside of the more normal business hours of the other 3 units, and the parking plan, again, as mentioned, would also do to encourage parents to not stay in the parking lot, but instead leave as they drop their students off. This is, as Melissa has said, that this would be something that is included in the code of conduct. So in terms of enforceability, this is something that every parent will have to sign for to join the program. Staff recommends approval of this with all of the findings of fact for both the special use and the variation, with one sole condition, that the facility be used only as a training center. Any competitions or ceremonies or any other special events that would require additional parking should be prohibited, specifically based on the lack of parking for anything other than the use itself.
And that's not an issue for you, right?
Not at all.
That is all I have.
Did you get any calls or emails on this?
Nope.
I just want to commend you on your presentation. I was very impressed. If you could have been here when that building first came before us to be rehabbed, and the audience and hearing some of the things, it was an eyesore of this ugly vertical metal all around the building. And some of the outlandish accusations that traffic would be lined up on Devon Avenue trying to get in and out of there and everything. And I think you've addressed everything very well. On page 16 of our handout is the cover letter by the applicant, and you covered the middle section here. We contend that standard parking requirements do not reflect our actual needs. Most participants are dropped off or carpool. Classes operate on a structured schedule. The facility is not open to the general public, and a parking study at a similar location showed less than 50% of code requirements were needed. And the fact that you are not going to be having hours that are conflicting with the others, I mean, this is picture perfect because you're not polluting the atmosphere. It's not some business going on. And you're not drawing all kinds of crowds of people. I mean, this is nothing like what the objections were when the building came. And I'm so glad to see something like this come about.
I'm so happy to hear that.
That's why we like to have a public hearing for just a special use to keep things under control. And I personally don't see any problem with this. I'm very, very impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I don't say stuff like that a whole lot. Anyone from the board?
I just want to say that your presentation was very inclusive, took over everything, and you explained everything. You did a great job.
Thank you.
As 2 people before me said, excellent presentation.
Thank
It would be nice if more people came as well prepared as you. And I'm always glad to see that parking is well thought of, and especially when you need less in reality. And that just says that the space is going to be better utilized, I think, in a more natural setting without having to use it for a parking lot that'll never get used.
Right. I love it.
Well, I'm in an area where there is a similar function that goes on, and the parking does not support it, and it is not managed well, and it creates continual problems.
Chaos.
Because it wasn't thought through beforehand, and it's too late now. So the fact that you're thinking about it ahead of time and making sure that there's written policies and procedures around, so that you have the background, you know, and the legal stance to approach something that happens, should it happen, hopefully it never does, but when something happens, you've got the legal, you know, paperwork to go back to hold people accountable. So, well done.
So there, so at no time will there be an opportunity for parents to come observe their children?
It's discouraged. However, the way sports are and the way especially cheerleading can be, gymnastics can be, there will be streamed televisions in the administrative space. So should a parent want to see what's going on in the facility, they can see real time what's happening. We use that for safety training purposes, insurance purposes, but also for transparency purposes with our parents.
Thank you.
I just have a question. During peak times, there's 3 administrative staff, 4 coaches, and 28 students. So if that's on a weeknight from 5 to 9, are those students coming and going in different groups?
Yeah, typically the class times stagger. So you'd have 5:30 to 7:30 and 7 to 9. And we do that so that people aren't coming and going at the same time. And so while those numbers reflect at any given moment, the number of athletes that are enrolled would be greater than 28, if that makes sense.
But only 28 at any given time?
That's about right.
The maximum there at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, the space holds way more than that, but for control's sake,
Well, that's what I was thinking with the 3 mats and then the other areas.
Yeah.
It seems like 28 is a small number.
Yeah, it can be, and you know, we'll see what the enrollment holds, but that's what we're anticipating at the time.
Do you train existing teams, clubs?
So all of the cheer athletics teams are part of the cheer athletics brand. In theory, if there was a high school or a middle school that wanted to leverage the space, they would have to be enrolled athletes within the facility so as to comply with the policies and procedures. And we could utilize the space on a rent basis, but outside of that, it's all under the cheer athletics brand.
Anyone else?
I wanted to ask the age group, the age range of the students at any given time. Are we talking about teenagers? As far as, would they be driving themselves there? And like carpooling would be the question.
They can. So the age range for competitive cheerleading, believe it or not, starts at 4 years old and goes into adulthood. That's why I say children at heart. And so there are athletes who may be able to drive themselves, but the split between drivable versus non-drivable is about an 80% non-drivable to a 20%, an athlete can drive on their own. And so parents often leverage carpooling so that they don't always have to make the trek out to the gym on their own every, other night. And so you'll see the drop-off procedures be like way less carloads full because of the carpooling nature of it.
But you're saying they are mainly taken by parents. They're not more or less carpooling together like older children driving.
Say it once more.
It's mainly by parents that are doing the carpooling, not children.
Right.
Only about 20% in that range, you would say.
Exactly.
Okay.
Question? Anyone else?
Brian or Christie, just a quick question about the current tenants there. There's a lot of trucks in the back lot, right? And those are all probably full of pallets or Closet by Design materials or something. Do they ever park in front of the building? Is there loading docks up front?
No, and in fact, those trucks will no longer be there. There's currently a parking lot repaving happening and repainting rather, that is going to eliminate that truck parking entirely.
What, the repainting, would that be in this section in front of Mr. X's proposed property here?
No, all the repainting is happening here. You can see that these spaces are the ones that, these spaces and these spaces are being added. Right now, there are a series of diagonal truck parking spaces. Those are being eliminated, and this is going to total the 147 spaces.
So the area in question here where our parents will be dropping off would be
Will not be touched.
lined?
Yep.
Okay, which would be by cones, right? You do the signage, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
This is the area that is getting repainted, not impacting this area.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Anyone else? At this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Any further discussion or motions?
I make a motion to approve.
Subject to the conditions that
Subject to,
Brian added on?
right.
Okay, and the findings of fact. Moved by John Miasso, any second?
Second?
Seconded by Michelle. At this point, we shall close the public hearing. Again, I commend you for what you're doing. That building is so much better than it was before, and you're going to have a business that is not going to contribute to tearing it down. This is not something that's going to get spoiled, and I'm really glad for it. Okay, please call the roll.
Are you, just to ask, are you taking one vote for the special use and the parking variance? Just one vote, right?
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
Bob Bacaro,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Julie Kapudakakis,
Yes.
Amy McSwain,
Yes.
Michelle Sarwaz,
Yes.
John Batterman,
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Okay, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the village board. And any idea when this might appear?
It'll be on January 17th. I don't know if it'll go to committee of the whole first.
Okay, that's pretty fast turnaround.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Business, old business, anything else going on?
We have some items in the pipeline. I don't know if they'll be ready for February or not. Depends if they make it to the committee of the whole in January.
Okay. Any motions to adjourn?
So I don't think we had town hall called, unless I missed it.
Oh, we did.
So if we want to open it up to the public, if they have anything to say about
Need to open it up
something
to
not on the agenda.
public if anyone has anything to address this board that's not on the agenda. Okay. Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by John Miazza. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.